Pokemon series like never before. Ash having different Pokemon, not meeting his acquaintances, and possibly becoming a completely different person. Last time we explored what would happen if Ash caught the Spearow. Ash experienced pretty intense events with one of the strongest Pokemon due to this small change. And since you requested part 2 of this What If series, here we are, exploring the idea of what if Ash woke up on time. Also, near the end of the video, we'll cover one mind-blowing paradox that rises up in this alternate reality, so stay tuned for that. So let's see how a small change to Ash's alarm clock changes the whole series. Our story begins with our 10-year-old aspiring Pokemon trainer staying up late before his big day, where he receives his first Pokemon. His name is Ash Ketchum. As he finally goes to bed after his mother's rebuke, he contemplates which starter to pick for his Pokemon journey. During his slumber, he unconsciously grabs his Pokeball-shaped alarm clock and throws it across the room. Luckily, in our alternate reality, Ash's alarm clock is a bit more sturdy and actually survived the smash. From this moment on, things will slowly start to diverge to the point where we'll have a completely different show. Ash wakes up when his Pidgey alarm clock rings. Filled with excitement, he puts on his clothes and rushes off to Professor Oak's lab, forgetting to take his backpack for his journey. Since he woke up on time and ran the whole way, he arrived at the lab before the 3 other trainers who were promised a starter Pokemon. Professor Oak, surprised by Ash's early arrival, greets Ash warmly and plans to ask which starter Ash would like to pick. But before Oak could utter a word, the lab door opened with a huge slam. Upon turning to the door, Ash and Oak see Gary Oak, the grandson of the professor. Gary greets them both and walks smugly towards the Pokeballs with starters. As Ash glares at him, Oak steps in and tells the kids that they will need to wait for the other trainers from Pallet Town before he can give them their new Pokemon. After a few minutes, which Ash and Gary spent bickering about who will be the better trainer, the 2 remaining kids, let's call them Aiden and Sora, arrived. Professor Oak greets them and proceeds to reveal his genius idea of how to decide on the order of picking their new Pokemon. Round 1 begins with Ash versus Aiden. Ash completely loses the first 2 rounds, but makes an unexpected comeback and finally wins with the score of 3-2. On the other hand, Gary has already lost to Sora. But surprisingly, the loss has no effect on him, since he thinks he will be the best no matter which Pokemon he gets. Ash continues to the finals, where he has to beat Sora to pick the starter he wants the most. The final round ended surprisingly quickly, as Ash swept the floor with Sora winning 3-0. Ash, completely fired up from his win, approaches the table with starters and picks one of the Pokeballs. After reminiscing about his long contemplations about whom to choose, he shouted, "I choose you!" Ash took his first step to becoming Pokemon Master and now sees no reason to wait, so he rushes up to the door. But Oak immediately stops him and tells him not to be so reckless and proceeds to give Ash a Pokedex with Pokeballs. Ash thanks the professor, sticks out his tongue at Gary, and leaves the lab. In front of the lab, Ash's mom is already waiting for him, ready to send her kid on the Pokemon journey. Ash puts on his backpack and runs off in the distance, waving his hand. Now in the outskirts of Pallet Town, he realizes he hasn't even seen his newly acquired Pokemon. Letting his Pokemon out of the Pokeball, we can see the excitement in Ash's eyes. In front of him stands a cute Squirtle full of life. Ash doesn't waste even 1 second and immediately announces his grand plan of becoming the Pokemon Master to the adorable creature. Surprisingly, Squirtle gets excited together with Ash and looks forward to their journey. As they continue together on the route to Viridian City, they encounter their first wild Pokemon. After scanning it with his Pokedex, Ash discovers it's a Pidgey. Ash, completely clueless about how catching Pokemon works, decides to throw a Pokeball right at the small bird, only to learn that he needs to weaken it first. Now a bit wiser, Ash uses the help of his Squirtle and catches his second Pokemon. Ash slowly continues on the path with his newly formed team, catching a few more Pokemon like Rattata and Spearow. After some time, he arrived at Viridian City, which means he completely missed Misty, who was fishing somewhere in the area. Ash never meeting Misty is another major change in contrast to the original series. Upon his arrival in Viridian City, Ash meets Officer Jenny. He's shown the path to the Poke Center, where he heals his Pokemon and calls his mother and Professor Oak to let them know how far he's already come. But not having much to do in the city and wanting to catch more Pokemon, Ash sets out to explore the Viridian Forest. This creates the third and possibly the biggest change in Ash's journey. Him leaving the Poke Center so early means he will not meet the Team Rocket trio. This means Ash will have a much more peaceful journey without them following him every day. As Ash travels through the Viridian Forest, he catches even more Pokemon and even engages in his first Pokemon battle against the samurai trainer we know from the show. Since there's nobody to distract him, Ash has the opportunity to learn a lot more about Pokemon. Upon arriving in Pewter City, he meets Flint, but in our alternate reality, Flint has no reason to take Ash to the Poke Center, so Ash goes to the Pewter City Poke Center alone. There he sees a Pokemon League poster, and Nurse Joy explains it to him that he needs to sign up and get 8 badges to participate in the league. Ash signs up without hesitation, and Joy informs him about Pewter City Gym. After healing his Pokemon, Ash can't wait and excitedly runs off to challenge the gym leader in Pewter City. There he meets Brock, the gym leader he was looking for. After their introduction, Brock is skeptical of Ash's overconfidence despite being just a newbie trainer. Brock accepts Ash's challenge and their battle starts. Ash starts the match with his Pidgey, while Brock starts with Geodude. Unfortunately for Ash, Pidgey had no chance of beating Geodude due to type disadvantage and got knocked out pretty quickly. However, this round wasn't a total loss for Ash. Using his Pokedex, he learned that water types have an advantage against Brock's rock-type Pokemon. Ash continues the battle with this Squirtle, who knocks out the Geodude quite easily. But now Ash faces Brock's intimidating Onix. After fighting for a while, Squirtle has some trouble fighting the giant rock snake. Squirtle is now barely standing on the ground, but Ash still has hope left and encourages his Squirtle as much as he can. Squirtle, hearing the supportive words, starts to glow. Ash, having no idea what's happening, uses his Pokedex to discover that his Squirtle is evolving. Squirtle has evolved into Wartortle. Since Ash's starter is now much stronger than before, he has no problem finishing Brock's Onix, and with Onix knocked out, Ash wins his first gym battle fairly. Brock admits defeat, gives Ash the Boulder Badge, and wishes him good luck on his Pokemon journey. Ash continues on his journey to the next city with his first badge. Now, let's stop for a moment and analyze what has happened so far. We can clearly see how much the show's changed compared to the original. Ash picked a different starter, caught more Pokemon, travels without his companions we know from the series, and doesn't need to bother with the Team Rocket trio following him around. If we consider how much we diverge from the original show, it's obvious that everything from this point on is pure speculation. Now to address the paradox we mentioned at the beginning of the video. It has to do with the 4th Pokemon movie, Celebi, the voice of the forest. In the movie, spoiler alert, time travel between Ash and Professor Oak occurs. During his adventures, Ash meets a young boy who has been transported 40 years to the future with Celebi's powers. After Ash helps him beat the antagonist from the movie, the boy returns to his original time. At the end of the movie, it's revealed that the boy from the past that Ash befriended was actually young Professor Oak. Professor Oak was deeply inspired by Ash's attitude to Pokemon and his bond with his Pikachu. This means that Professor Oak might have persuaded Ash to pick Pikachu instead of the other starters, despite Ash waking up on time. Or Ash's different path on his Pokemon journey would result in him never helping young Oak. This may result in Oak never becoming professor in Pallet Town, which changes the whole future again. A future where Ash doesn't even become a Pokemon trainer. But one thing is still clear when we forget about this paradox. Ash would be able to focus more on his training, since there would be no distractions for him. For example, compromising his training for his friends or being constantly annoyed by the Team Rocket trio. Would this scenario turn Ash into a Pokemon master or an ordinary run-of-the-mill trainer? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Let us know if you want us to continue this journey, and check out What If Ash Caught the Spearow, as well as why Pokemon could end for good. As always, have a great one.